Why would you come over and work for a company doing $3 million a year when you're getting fed jobs at a company getting 20% commission at, so it's like aligning, like the biggest thing for growth and to acquire the right talent for us was getting that, tech incentive program dialed in.
Welcome back to the Share Willow podcast. My name is Ryan Shank, founder of Share Willow. Today, here with Brandon Fink, owner of Air Titans. Brandon, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, of course, man. Glad
so
to be here.
Fantastic. So I found you on Twitter. You post a lot, and I follow. My Twitter feed is a lot of SMBs and home service companies. Tell us about your company and kind of what you're doing on Twitter or on X.
On X. I mean, so I just kind of this. Are we explicit on the show or no?
Hell yeah, let's go.
Cool. I just shit post on X a lot. Just kind of what's on my head, what we're going through. Trying to kind of I'm one of 6 partners in Air Titans, so I'm one of the majority partners of Air Titans, and I try to semi-build in public, to their respect, right? So
I love it. So just to give everyone an idea, so you guys are an HVAC company. You're in Tampa or Florida. Tell us about the business.
Yeah, so we started the company. My partner Jacob and I, we started the company in June 29th, 2023. So we just turned 2 years old, like 2 years and 4 days old or whatever we are.
Congrats.
And we started off as a indoor air quality company. So in my background, kind of quick story about how Air Titans came to exist. I had an indoor air quality company, 2011 to 2015. I grew the company to like 14 trucks, but I kind of had like a contract for Groupon. So I would go to different states, open up 1 or 2 trucks per market, train those guys and move on to the next state. Give them a percentage of our sales, and that was my acquisition channel, was just Groupon, and it was very successful until it wasn't. And I had a tech actually in Chicago rob and assault a customer. And I lost my contract with Groupon. I went from 60 jobs a day to 0 jobs a day overnight, and I had I was 23 years old when this happened. I had 14 trucks, 14 van payments, 14 equipment payments, and went bankrupt. Cause I spent had like $100,000 in the bank, and I spent all of it on penny savers and, whatever kind of advertising there was back then. And by the time the jobs hit, all my guys had quit. So,
and just to back up a little bit. So sure. You had an employee assault and rob a customer while on a job wearing your branding, your company, and that essentially tanked the business. Yeah.
And to be fair to the employee, it wasn't the best operation in the world back then, right? I was 22. I was making $400,000 net a year. I know what I was doing. I was just going around. There was one point in time, I had 2 kids back then. I was gone for 4 months. At one time, I opened up Boise, Idaho, Reno, Nevada, Salt Lake City, and Las Vegas in one trip. Mm-hmm. So I was just kind of going through and at the time kind of thinking hey, I'm doing what's best for my family and my kids and all this stuff back then. And, just kind of taking whoever I could take off of Craigslist that would do the job, it was air duct cleaning, as most HVAC contractors know, they don't even do it because it's such a manual intensive job to do.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Okay. So that was back then. And then, so you started Air Titans 2 years ago.
Right.
I guess bridge me between then and then this new company.
Yeah. So after I filed bankruptcy, it was I'll never rely on someone for acquisition or a partner for acquisition ever again. So I jumped at one of the guys who worked for me in North Carolina. Is where I live now and where I'm from. One of the guys that worked for me then, his name's Josh. He went into real estate and made $100,000 his first 6 months in there, and I'm like, dude, that's what I want to do. So I quit HVAC because I was doing a little bit of HVAC at the time, not a ton, mostly indoor air quality, and went into real estate, learned Facebook ads, fell in love with Facebook ads. We had a kind of a system running where we could get a new customer in the door for $16 and I get $100 Amex gift card. So as a brand new agent, we sold $90,000 of revenue in commission in 71 days to be exact. But I had this massive stack of gift cards. I wasn't happy doing real estate. Mm-hmm. I found out I'm a marketer by trade. That's what I love to do. The 2 hours I spent in the ad account a day was my favorite part of the day. I hated showing houses to people and doing all that. So Went to a mastermind, got a job working for a very talented marketer named Jeremy Haynes. The first ad account I went into was spending $40,000 a day. Ended up spending $25 million within my first year working for him.
For what type of business?
Info products.
Okay, got it.
So he was the top marketer for Grant Cardone at the time.
Got it.
He left there, started his own agency, did his own kind of info product company. We had an e-commerce brand come in. I fell in love with e-commerce at that time. I went on to work for a bigger agency in North Carolina. Ended up at Discovery Channel, Caterpillar. Some really big spend budgets, like $500,000 a day spent at Discovery Channel. So, and then 2019, just to kind of bridge the gap here. 2019, started my own ad agency with a big company in California called I Am Becoming. It was a very large women's apparel brand. And we took that team, started an agency, grew that team from 17 employees to 120 employees in 3 years. And then I exited from there in 2022, took a little bit of time off, and that's when we started AirTitan. So from the time of me, going bankrupt to starting AirTitans, I got about $750 million of ad spend under my belt. Through paid acquisition channels. So
wow. And not to jump around too much, but I saw that you tweeted something, if you're not able to spend 10K a day, what did you say? If you're not able to spend 10K a day, like you're doing something wrong. And you mentioned, the offer, the creative, and then the landing page. And, what's your offer? If you don't mind sharing,
Sure.
Talk us through that. Cause I think a lot of home service companies, it's like, especially the more on-demand stuff. It's like, how am I going to proactively get someone to let me fix their toilet? They think of it as a branding play. What's the offer for that direct response?
Yeah. So that tweet specifically, I'm in e-commerce as well. So I'm still managing I work in a company called Breeze. So we're a social tonic, cannabis and mushroom infused. They started April of 2023. We'll do 70 million roughly this year in revenue.
Damn.
And the whole thing there was just, if you're same thing for home services, but probably a lower dollar amount. E-commerce is immensely, and I've learned this the hard way, immensely easier to scale than home services because
of course
e-commerce is it's product production and scaling the back end, where in home services it's a people process. More than anything ever. So, but yeah, what the idea there was hey, if you don't have an offer that you can't spend, let's say in home services, $1,000 a day on, if you're not running ads to Facebook installs and it's working on Facebook, if you're not able to spend $1,000 a day between Thumbtack and Angie's, for example, an offer we run Google PPC, extremely, extremely competitive market. Especially we're in Tampa, Orlando, and Jacksonville, right?
Yep.
We're bidding against, I think it was $800 some per acquisition we were paying on PPC.
And is that to acquire a lead or is that to acquire an estimate, a paid customer?
A new customer, to acquire a new customer.
Okay. So you're getting leads for, call it less, maybe a couple $100, but then you're converting maybe 25% of the leads into customers.
Yeah. So that's not scalable or attainable, right? So what we do is we run tune-up ads. So in the off season, we run tune-up ads, and our tune-up ads, we're trying a new offer I'm really excited about this winter time. But last year it was an $89 tune-up. The tune-up includes come out, and we sold 50% of those customers last year a membership, right? So this year during the summer, those customers are calling us. This winter time, we're going to be including an offer where when they join the membership, they get a free thermostat. So we're partnering with Nuve Home. We already have 400 units on the wall already this summer. That's one thing we did to significantly cut down on our acquisition cost was on Google PPC. When you think about what's the issue is you're paying $40 per click, usually $50 a click to get the AC fixed. Well, if I have a 10% conversion rate on my landing page, then I'm paying $500 per lead, right? $50 per click, 10%.
Yep.
Well, if I go on the page and I say, hey, look, here's a thermostat. You get a free smart thermostat when you switch to AirTitans today, and my conversion rate goes to 20%. Now I'm paying $250 per customer.
Doubling conversion rate, 50% the cost per lead. So just so I know, so you're selling the tune-ups, and then from the tune-ups, then you're going 50% of those will buy the membership, and then when they call you for the membership, you sell them the repair, and then then some subset of those will ultimately have a 10-year-old machine, whatever, and then they'll have to buy
6%. The number is 6% buy a system.
Buy a
For us
system.
right now. Yeah. So on a tune-up, 50% will buy a membership.
By the way, you know your numbers. This is so important in home services. You are on top of it. I saw you tweeting your Service Titan. How do you know your numbers so well?
So from scaling 60 plus e-commerce brands to 8 and 9 figures per year, right? Like going through that process is always. We have an issue right now with like we're building to be $100 million company, and when you build to be $100 million company, you have to have $100 million overhead before you're a $100 million company. So our overhead costs are suffocating our brand. So your growth has to be faster, right, than anything you're doing. So you have to, before you go into hyper growth mode, you have to have your offers dialed in. Like, what is my cost per acquisition? What's my 3-month, my 6-month, my 12-month LTV from those customers when they come in? And so you get to know those numbers before you scale. And I learned that the hard way in a lot of other companies. So yeah, that's kind of how I know my numbers is from like all the failures, to be honest with you. So. Got
it. Sorry. So I cut you off. I got excited just because, I think it's so refreshing talking to you. I also was at an air conditioning conference, and Tommy Miller was a speaker, and I know he's big in home services, but dude knows his numbers. Like, bro knows every number, like just like you're spinning them off. And I think, when I'm, we work with hundreds of HVAC and home service companies, and not all of them are like this. Actually, probably you're in the top 1%, probably top 5% for sure. So anyway, I cut you off.
But I'll take 1%.
Yeah. 1% is good.
Going into numbers, let's say, for example, if Tommy's saying, hey, we should have 10%, 10% of our revenue should be marketing, right? What we'll also say is when you're going into a new market, he's willing to spend 25% on ads, right? Well, why is that? Well, we have to think about what's our first time revenue versus returning revenue. So like the one thing that every marketer, every company should know in numbers wise, and it's easy for us because we're a new company, like 90% of revenue is to be first time revenue.
Yep.
But these big companies, I say like, oh, you need to have like, you go to these conferences, you talk to these, I call them like kind of like asshole HVAC owner guys, like the older guys like that, like are preaching to 10%. They don't want to listen or change. It's like, okay, well, if you actually break out your revenue, you did 10 million last year, 7 million is returning revenue, 3 million is first time. You spend $1 million, you're at a 33% acquisition MER, right? It's like you're spending 30% of your marketing dollars to bring in new customers. So that's the biggest thing I think that people need to really be aware of. Like we were at 30-something% year one on marketing spend. We're at like 22 probably right now this year. And our goal next year is 15 and then eventually get to 10, but it's gonna be per market, right? So like when we go into Tallahassee or we go into Miami or whatever market we go into next, I'm willing to go 30% on ads but I'm like almost always want to go 30% on ads.
And explain to us what 30% means. 30% of what?
So let's say we spend $1 million this month or this year. Okay. $1 million this month, $1 million this year. And we do $3 million this year in first time revenue.
Got it.
Then I'm looking at what are my dollars doing for my first time revenue. I don't care about returning. Like returning is a different budget. It's like when we're doing our planning and projection, we're saying how much of this spend, like postcards. My postcards aren't going to acquire new customers. My postcards in HVAC. Now there's like other industries like roofing and bathroom remodels where you have like really, really high tickets and you're in a neighborhood for a while where it makes sense to have acquisition on postcards. But when you're going and you're saying like, hey, my postcard, like, are you going to send a 80-cent postcard to 1,000 homes and get a return on that? Probably not on a new customer acquisition. And you have to have like multiple touch points. So that's more towards like brand building. But when you send a postcard to existing customers, we have like 12,000 now. It's like, we send that out, like we can do hundreds of thousands of dollars off of a system sale or a rebate or get tons of tune-ups from that list, right? And returning customers are going to have a higher AOV on a tune-up than a first-time customer on a tune-up. That was one big thing.
AOV is average order value, so higher average order value. You say it on a first-time or on a returning customer?
On a returning. because you built that trust. The trust is there. So we're noticing like our CEO is a goat, like Tom Brady of HVAC. We were expecting a roughly $1,500 average ticket on our tune-ups, but we're getting like a $700 average ticket on our tune-ups right now on a first time. But then when we go back out to that customer, it's a lot higher, and we're getting more system sales on those repeat customers.
Got it. I want to talk KPIs for a second, and then I want to go back. I know we're jumping around just because I get excited about a lot of the numbers aspect of home services companies. But what are some KPIs that you think move the needle for the business?
So I think the most important KPIs you can measure and manage. And I don't know that I've read this anywhere, like, because in e-commerce, let's break this down from an e-commerce perspective first. E-com business comes in, you have COGS, which is like your products, your shipping costs, your processing fees, all that's it's dynamic to the order coming in.
Yep.
So in HVAC, I relate that to our install labor. I relate that to our equipment cost, our parts cost. That's called even the fuel in the vans to get to the job. Those all go under our COGS category, right? So it's not payroll. Like install labor is not payroll. Install labor is COGS in our company. Number two would be understanding your overhead. Overhead means our CEO, your salary, your CEO salary, your marketing team, whatever you have.
Stuff that's going to happen regardless of
office
if you get new
teams,
business.
exactly. Whether or not you make any sales next month, this is your overhead. You're locked into those costs. So separating out your COGS, your overhead, and then you want to know, well, what's my profit percentage? So when we're actually going, we're looking and seeing, we're growing right now. We're aiming for a 5 to 10% profit margin. Some people might think that's crazy, but we're like, the question becomes like, do you want to make 20% profit of 5 million this year or grow as fast as you can to 100 million and get to 20% profit?
You're gobbling up market share right now.
Yes. Very aggressively. So, so anyways, like you have your COGS, you have your overhead percentage, and then you figure out what percentage of profit you want to be at. And then that tells you how much money you can spend in advertising. Got
it. So you know, I've talked to a couple other owners, and they talk about callbacks being, you know, the silent killer. You think the job is done, then you get the callback from the customer. Do you guys measure callbacks as a key KPI? Do you see that as something that, you know, kills your availability? Talk to me about callbacks.
I mean, that would be probably more of like a CEO question, but I don't believe that's an issue for us right now.
Okay.
We also pay our installers very, very well, and you know our CEO particularly has handpicked people he's worked with for the last 15 years to be. We have 4 install teams, and all those guys are handpicked over a decade of working with them. So maybe that will become an issue as we scale, but it's not currently an issue we're facing. I don't really like track a KPI. It's like, for example, like if we're scaling or making profit, I'm just going to keep doing what we're doing and more. When I realize like, oh, our overhead percentage is like right now, I think we had a month, April, where we thought we were doing a lot more than we did. And our overhead was like 27%. Like when that happens.
And what's the target percentage?
Right now we're trying to scale at 15. I know that eventually our target is going to be 8 to 12. Okay. In that range. But you know, our goal was 15%. We hit 27, and you know, we had a 5% profit goal. We lost money that month, right? Like the numbers, that's how numbers work, unfortunately.
And what's the target percentage of the COGS?
It varies, right? Okay. Like the COGS to me is kind of less like that's COGS and marketing are hand in hand. Yep. If I run a fire offer, my COGS could be higher. If I run, you know, so like I kind of put those together. But in terms of like an install, I think we're typically going for a like 50 to 60% margin on an install. But like going back to what we were talking about the percentages of like overhead. There's 2 ways to get over that. Like if you're at 25% overhead, you can either fire half your staff to get to 12.5, or you can do double the sales to get to 12.5. Right. So like most companies I see, and this is in e-commerce and home services, their overhead's higher percentage, but they think they need better MER or marketing efficiency. So like, hey, I need 10%. Yep. Well, if your overhead wasn't 25% and it was 10%, you would have the same profit margin by spending, instead of 10% on ads, you get 15% more now. You could spend 25% on ads. Same profit margin.
Yeah. I saw you also tweeted something that I thought was particularly interesting. especially as it relates to Share Willow, you said availability is key in home services. You said you had 6% conversion rate and a $60 cost per job. And then it increased to 8.5% conversion rate and $40 per job. So like basically, the third less.
Right.
Talk to me about that. Is it just, if your guys are all booked out, like the call comes in, you can't take the call, they call the next guy on the list? Is that sort of just the simple theory behind it? Or, why do you think availability is so key in home services?
Well, I think it comes down a lot to the advertising platforms now. So if you go to, Ford right now and you go build a Mustang, go to Facebook and see what happens to your feed. Like you're going to start hit with Hyundai, with Tesla doesn't advertise, I wish they did, but you're hit with, all these different car brands. Like you're all of a sudden getting bombarded on Google Display, on Facebook.
Yep.
It's how that works. I mean, so what happens is if someone calls you and they want their AC fixed today, like number one is super hot, right? So like if you can't get out there, no matter what, if I'm on route, you're still going to see those ads. You're still going to start seeing ads from our competition, from other HVAC companies. Oh. That was more related to like the cost per tune-up. And it's like if we have a tune-up and we're booked out, 2 weeks, and sometimes we're booked out a month on tune-ups. We're running ads on Facebook for those. If we're running tune-ups and we're 2 weeks booked out and they schedule with us, well, now we're going to have a higher cancellation percentage of customers that just cancel because they forget. But then also they're seeing the other 20 HVAC companies in the area that are running, really low budgets, but Facebook's getting the low-hanging fruit. So they're basically just retargeting our campaign. And so like, oh, hey, I can do you guys tomorrow, right? So like that's what happens is they cancel the job because another company that, doesn't have that scalability can get them in today or tomorrow.
That's crazy. I never thought about how like the algorithms are so good that it actually works against you sometimes if you don't have that availability, because now they're serving up ads to someone that maybe called you directly. That's so interesting.
And there's things we've done to counter that, right? Like we built a really, really great PDF that goes out now. So like depending on the service they get, we had our design team with like a 12-page brochure. So we'll have someone from the office call, hey Ryan, this is Brandon with Air Titans. Just want hey, we're super excited to come out on, let's say the 3rd, come out on Monday.
Yep.
I'm gonna shoot you over a PDF that's gonna tell you like what to expect when we come out. Also, to go over some of our other offers that we have, and some of our testimonials. And also, Ryan, did you know that there was a kind of a health crisis going on right now in Florida?
I didn't actually know.
Cool. So if you go to page 2, this PDF I'm going to send you is going to cover all of that as well and give you options to remedy that just in case that's an issue when we come out.
Oh, I have been a little stuffy. Okay, cool.
But yeah, you get the idea. It's like we're able to I don't want to switch from these guys because like they're high end. It shows the reps. It shows our founder story. It shows the issue that we're here to solve. Why we're the most we have the most authority to actually solve that issue for them. And then like all the reviews, so it's like it builds a high end, and it did reduce that. But still, like your availability is the number one predicator from scaling like multiple high ticket offers as well. Like Alex and Mosey will back me on this one. Availability is the number one predicator of lead cost when you're doing online bookings.
Even for us at Share Willow, we had one AE doing demos and he was booked out and we didn't have availability, and we're getting all these no-shows because he's booked out. So then they have to book demos a week and a half out, and then they're no-showing. So then by the time he's getting to them, everyone's no-showing. Then the new people can't book, and it's like this crazy cycle. So we've seen that here about availability.
And we do 3 days. So like 3 days, if we're doing a online sales funnel, 3 days max. Once you get past 3 days, you need more sales guys. But for us, it's a little in home services. You still have to be like a week booked out. We found, because of like the service territory that you require. Like you don't want your guys driving from South Orlando to North Orlando. That might be a 2-hour drive.
Yeah, or like Tampa, downtown Tampa to like St. Pete Beach. Like that's crazy.
So you need enough jobs in the bucket to be able to route efficiently. So like at some point in time, like route efficiency, like my guy being able to do 4 jobs a day versus 2. Is more important to me than a $60 job cost versus $40.
And are you guys using any like route tracking software like Fleetmatics or I don't even know what the ones these days are? Are you guys using anything like that for route optimization?
Just some dispatchers in the office. Like when a job comes in, they either will confirm or reschedule with the customer immediately.
But do you try how do you make sure that a crew or a guy is like, again, if you're in, I don't even know, I know Tampa better than Orlando. If you're in sort of downtown South Tampa, like how do you make sure they stay in that area and don't have to go like up to Clearwater or something? Like, do you have guys?
Bro, there's nothing like this exists. And we're building a software called Lead Titan. And with Lead Titan, like Lead Titan, and it's probably gonna be a year before it rolls out to public, but we're building it internally for Air Titans first.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, because like what Lead Titan will do is it'll look at when a customer books a job, and it'll say, okay, this customer's here. Do not show availability on this tech unless this job is within X miles of this house.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, the geofence. Like
it doesn't exist. Yeah, it's like
yeah.
Whenever the problems don't exist, whenever solutions to problems don't exist, you get to just kind of build it yourself. So.
I love that. So you basically mentioned how, the lead comes in, and one of the things that you do is you humanize yourselves. So first of all, you guys have fantastic branding. I do want to talk to you about, all your trucks super buttoned up. They look fantastic. Your branding, like you guys just look and feel buttoned up. You send the PDF. Like, is that something that you try to do as a differentiator, especially when you think of, a lot of the like break fix services could be viewed as commoditized, right? It's like, sure, I just want it fixed, but like, what do you do to stand out? Like, do you talk about that internally, going above and beyond? And I'll just reiterate, or I'll just extend it a little bit further. We talk about unreasonable hospitality a lot internally at Share Willow. Hey, what can we do to like just provide value, go above and beyond that makes us stand out, makes us feel trusted to the customer? Sounds like you maybe do something similar, but I'm curious how you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, we have this like kind of saying, it's like, why are we a 5-star company, right? Like we have a 4.9-star rating. Why are we 5? Like, what do we got to do to get to 5? That's like one question I know like sometimes some people argue, say it hurts conversion or whatever. But yeah, like the customers, usually always right within reason with us. And with the branding, the one thing that's different about our branding than if you look at like a kick charge, for example.
Yeah.
Is we have like clear call to actions inside of our vans. On the van, get 50% off of the air duct cleaning, QR code. So it's like if you have a billboard, it's, we like all of our guys know you park at the end of the driveway with your back facing. We have on both windows before, after call to action QR code. Right. Very, very simple, very clean.
So you purposely park at the end of the drive. I love picking up little nuggets, by the way, in conversations like this. I heard someone else say that, strangers ring the doorbell, friends knock. So they have their technicians knock instead of ring doorbells. I've never heard park at the end of the driveway with your back facing out, but that's super awesome.
And we always ask, like, our CEO, he get mad at me if I just said we did that every single time. Like we have a call process, so there's processes for everything that we do. So we call, we offer, hey, I'm stopping at the store. Do you want a drink? Or we'll just get one. For the customer, hey, when I get there, do you want me to park? Is it okay if I park at the end of the driveway, or do you want me to park on the side of the street? So we ask all these questions before we get to the home. And then again, like we have the, like, Uber type thing where like the customer can see where we are. On the map when they're coming. So cool. we have those kind of experiences laid out. So yeah, the idea is once you acquire that customer, so here's the biggest thing. It's called CAC payback. So if I'm acquiring a customer for $800 on PPC,
and CAC, just for everyone listening, is customer acquisition cost. So the payback for the money that it costs to acquire the customer. Yep.
So if we're, if you're selling, like for example, on Breeze, right? Like, if we sell a customer $100 worth of product, I can pay $200 for that cost per acquisition, which sounds crazy, but we know that within 6 months, that customer will come back and be 2.5 times more their value. So like it's understanding from a customer pipeline, what is the actual like time window in which the money we spend, we get brought back from the customer.
So payback period.
Yeah. So we're always in the number one way to improve that is like be a good company, like show up on time, like do the right things. Put the stickers on the units, try to get a thermostat on the wall with your branding on it. Like these are like whenever a unit breaks down, I'm so freaking bullish, guys. Like on this, on the Nuve, Ismail Valdez, like and Tommy, I think is also a investor company. They created a phenomenal product where it's like, if my unit breaks down, I'm not going to my unit. The customer you want, shall I say, is not going to the unit underneath the house in the crawl space or outside in the heat. They're going to go to the thermostat first. That's where they're going to go. So. Yeah, and on our side, we're also able to. It's not like a promotion for them. I swear it's not. But I think like whoever HVAC company does not do this is going to get left behind. because like we're able to get a notification from that company that says, hey, your customer's unit's broken down, or hey, this sensor went off. We're able to call those customers most times before they even know they have a problem.
Wow. That's awesome.
So those are the things that we do and we're very aware of on the front end. That's like, like go above and beyond. The very first thing we say on the call is, hey, Ryan, I'm here today to provide you 5-star service. If at any point in time you feel like I haven't provided it to you, please let me know. And that makes it such an easy layup at the end to ask for a 5-star review.
I was just going to say that also anchors them to 5-star. I think 5-star. Hey, I'm providing 5-star. Hey, you didn't say I didn't provide 5-star. So then you're almost like feel this obligation to give the 5-star. I love that. I got to write
Ryan,
that down.
did I provide you that 5-star service I told you about earlier today?
Yeah, absolutely. You guys were.
Hey, would you mind? Hey, I'll get commission. I get incentivized. We do. We incentivize our guys on reviews, right? So like, every review they get, there's a monetary value attached to that.
So I was going to ask you about all of these things. Do you guys have scorecards or checklists? Selfishly, Share Willow does incentives for HVAC technicians, but I'm curious, like, what you guys are doing, and like, how do you track all this? How do you track? Hey, did you put the whatever thing on the thermostat, the sticker on the thermostat? Like, how did you have? Yeah, talk to me about that.
Service Titan templates. So there's like 30 pictures per call that tech sector do.
Okay, and then they like toggle them off when they do. Oh, pictures you said?
Yeah, pictures. So it's like we have like a 30-step call process, and each step requires a picture to go to the next. I think that's how they have it set up. I'm not 100%
that's
sure,
awesome.
but I do know if I go on Service Titan, there's like 30 photos per call.
Oh, cool. And so I actually saw another tweet of yours about the reviews. So how important are the reviews? Like, I understand you guys have a lot of reviews. I think 2,000, or I forget exactly how many. And you said rate up 4.9, which is crazy. I love that you anchor at the 5-star. I think a lot of our listeners and customers can, implement that. But how important are reviews, do you think, to getting new business, and in Google My Business specifically?
Yeah, man, I would love to say I'm not confident on it right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
We cannot spend on Google LSA right now. It's one of our biggest issues. We can't spend, and we have one of the best GMB profiles in the market. We tried hiring like 24-hour coverage to make sure that we don't miss one single call, and we reply to text like immediately. We tried, right now we just implemented Chirp. We were using HubSpot before.
Yeah.
So we just started with Chirp like 2 weeks ago. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, like we have not, no matter how fast or 100% call rate, we get like maybe 20 leads a week on LSA. And then I hear guys on podcast. What's the guy's name? John Wilson. Wilson.
Yeah. Wilson Companies.
He's like, he had a podcast. He's like, yeah, we want more jobs. We just turned up PP or LSA. We're spending $15,000 a week on LSA. I'm like, dude, my budget's set at $300,000 a week on whatever what it is. Like,
you just mean you can't spend just because the volume's not there. You're not like dinged or anything, right? You just mean the volume's not there.
We're not volume. The thing the volume's there. I think that other companies are like in that kind of, I don't know how the algorithm works.
Yeah.
So we're testing out some kind of splitting. We're going to try to get some more offices in the area. Cause I kind of feel like if we had 10 offices between Tampa, like right now we have one, it's just Tampa. I feel like if we had 10, we would get at least the lowest hanging fruit from all 10 profiles.
Yeah.
So that 20 leads could turn into 200 essentially. But yeah, like Google's been one thing where we just haven't been, we've hired a very highly rated agency on Google. They were trash, honestly. I feel
like the agency. So my last company before this, I had a call tracking company called PhoneWagon, and we sold to CallRail. We got acquired by CallRail, but like all of our customers were these agencies, and there's like 1% that I think are great, and then there's like this long tail of just like not great agencies, because the barrier to entry for agencies is like 0. It's like you can like put up a Webflow landing page and like run Google ads, and like you call yourself an agency. So I feel like it's tough. It's a tough business.
Yeah, it is. And to be fair for them, we're in a competitive market, but we were improperly sold on the sales call. I'll say that we were improperly sold on the sales call. Won't drop any names on there, but like it was one of the highest respected ones. We were able to come in, get better results in them. Our first month on Google was last month. So like prior to last month, we were only running duct cleaning calls
Yeah.
on Google and all Facebook. So, we just don't have, but again, we're just really struggling with acquiring customers through Google. And the question I ask myself is like, is this just a PE problem? Like, are we just competing with like big pockets of guys who can afford? Because, like the customer acquisition and the lifetime value is there on $800 call, but like who can afford, who can afford that and have massive growth?
It's interesting because it's not like these businesses get valued on top line. Like I could understand if people are like, all right, screw it. Let's just, be unprofitable because we're growing top line. But like, as you know, and from my understanding from just being really close to the space, everything is valued on like an EBITDA or an SDE multiple, right? So like they have to show the cash flow eventually. Are they just kind of betting similar to, I guess, maybe what you said, the year 2, 3, 4, that they're going to recoup that?
I think also there's two kinds of guys, right? There's like the PE guys that just like have tons of money to burn. And like, I mean, dude, there's guys legitimately that $10 million a spend to them, or like a $10 million bet to them is probably equivalent to like us going and buying a MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, there's that equation, but then there's also the equation of like, there's this big company, let's say a company, one of the companies we compete against, they do $30 million a year. I know personally that like 80% of the revenue is returning revenue. So when you're doing that, you can spend $800 and like hide that into a 12-15% marketing cost because most of your revenue is returning revenue.
Wait, that just got me fired up for you. So you said I think you said maybe around 12,000 customers on the list. Most of it is you're only in your second year. So most of it is front loaded. So now in year 3, 4, 5, you're going to get the same amount of year one revenue. Plus now you start to have the back end revenue. So this is where the business starts to get really interesting. It starts to compound, right? Because you have that book of business that spits off, those returning jobs, and then you're getting the new stuff up front.
It goes back to the offer, right? Like if we're able to come in and provide a thermostat to every customer that comes in, and we can double our conversion rate through that offer, well then our thermostat costs us, $220, whatever that cost is there. Mm-hmm. Well, $250 for the job, $220 for the thermostat. That costs us $470. We're still $30 cheaper than not doing that offer, and now we have a thermostat on every customer's wall.
That's crazy. Yeah. So I'm going to ask you about some metrics, and then I also want to, I want you to tell us about some tools that you're using. One key metric that I know, and this goes to the offer, is booking rate, right? So how your CSRs, getting the calls and booking the jobs. What are you targeting? What are you seeing now, and how can they improve?
So it's per platform, right? Like on LSA, we're targeting 80% plus.
Booking rate from an inbound call into an appointment, an estimate or a service call. Okay.
Yep. On 80%. Facebook lead forms, like if we're running Facebook lead forms for HVAC installs, like we're targeting 15-20%. Mm-hmm. If we're running Dumb Tech or lead aggregator, we're trying to win 1/3 of, because we're bidding typically against 2 other companies. We're trying to win at least 1/3 of those calls. And also we saw not a huge increase. We went from a 20 something percent, like high 20s to mid 30s by doing the free thermostat offer.
Wow, that's such an unlock right there. Are you like how fast are you calling? Because I've heard seconds. speed wins and in this kind of game seconds.
And we have 8 office staff, 8 people, 8 CSRs, but there's only 1 in house, like 1 person in Florida.
Got it. And then the rest are like all like contractors overseas. Yep. Have you found that like customers care? Like I hate even saying this as
you don't know. So like here's the thing. Like in Nicaragua, most of them from Nicaragua.
Okay, so they're you at like kind of same time zone. -ish.
Yeah, and so and that's really key because I mean we have 2 Philippine call center people, but they work the 8 to 8 shift basically.
Yep.
8 p.m. to 8 a.m. shift because it's 12-hour difference. But in Nicaragua, like you have Disney, MasterCard, you have all these call centers. They pay their people $1,200, like the good ones, and they're all bilingual, which in Florida is huge. So we're able to go
$1,200 a month. $1,200 a month.
Yeah, $1,200 a month. Not to laugh at that, but it's a good living there.
I actually think that's good. Yeah, I from my understanding of the Philippine people, maybe like 600 if I'm even correct about that. But so $1,200 doesn't feel terrible to me.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll typically pay 14, 1600, somewhere in that range. So we're getting the top talent of Disney to come over, the top talent of MasterCard, like people in those markets. So we have, applications on the sites that Disney's on, that MasterCard's on, that these other companies are on. I come from an agency where we had 120 employees and 70 were overseas.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like we're looking, and we have the potential of like building our own in-house center in Nicaragua. That's like my favorite place to hire phone talent from. If we're going like media buying, it's typically Philippines or Pakistan, Google buyers, India.
Yeah.
So it's just different for your talent you want to have.
And do you go direct? Like, are you hiring the individual, or are you working with an agency that then helps you place and then they manage as well? Because I know the management.
No, we hire. So like
hire
it was hard to find that first hire, right? We found that first hire there. Luckily, we did. Amazing person. Her name's Stephanie. She's from New York, so she's on a U.S. salary in Nicaragua, but she's in charge of recruiting and training.
Cool. Yeah, I now I see all these, Shepherd and all these things that are trying to place kind of talent like that as like recruiters. And then I know obviously you can kind of do it through an agency. So I was just
It's a good place to find your first hire, probably.
Yeah. Cool. So what are some tools? You mentioned, I think, Chime or Chirp. What are you using for, it sounds like you have the PDF stuff. Like, what are you using for the creatives? Are you designing them in-house using like Canva templates? Like talk to me about like the actual tactic specific stuff that you guys are doing, for the text messages. Is that just all through, Service Titan? Talk to me about some of the tools you're using.
Yeah. I mean, so we have an in-house team. We use technically contract. So they're not in-house, but we give them enough work to where they are in-house, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we use
it's like full-time contractor essentially.
Yeah, we use an agency in Romania that does all of our creatives. So I guess like to kind of like give more strategic advice. I live by a process called LOCC. LOCCC. So every single month, what I do is I say, on how can I iterate what we're already doing that's working, and what's a fresh new concept that we can do for LOCC. And what LOCC stands for is landing pages, offers, creative, customer journey, and CAC payback. So every single month, my job, so like I'm not the CEO. I'm not like, you're asking these questions about KPIs. I'm head of growth. Like
my bad.
No, you're fine. No, I know most of the answers.
Yeah.
Most of them, but I'm very involved. But like my job is LOCC. Like that's my only. Like if you do LOCC in any business, you can grow any company to mid 8 figures in 5 years, hands down.
Wow. Can you say that again? I'm going to clip farm that, but that is if you do LOCC. Can you repeat that? Sure.
Yeah. So if you do LOCC for 5 years in any company, that company will grow to 8 figures within 5 years.
Wow. Okay. And I saw, by the way, not to jump around, but I did see you maybe had I saw you had 3 back-to-back 50K days in around May 22nd. And then maybe you hit 1.8 in Q2. Yep. So you're close to $1 million a month.
Yeah, we thought we were going to do it. What fucked us on that was Google. Like we had this high hope of like we could just go into Google with a better offer than our competition and win, and this is not the case.
Yeah,
Google PPC is a much harder case to crack. So we're compiling lead aggregators right now, and we're switching back to social. Like here's the issue we have very talented techs. So we have like if we go have our techs run tune-ups right now, and the average ticket's $700. That same tech could go work for a PE company or another company across the street, and now they're getting, instead of a $700 AOV, they're getting $3,500 AOVs per call, and they're commissioned, so they make 5 times more money working for a competitor than us. So we're kind of in this like tough spot right now of like, hey, do we just eat it and make no money or lose money in the summer, which is like sounds so crazy to say out loud. Or do we lose good techs? And it's a very tough decision that you have to make, or that we're faced with right now. Is like, hey, do we inject capital into the company, or do we get profitable and run tune-ups and have techs quit? Like, it's kind of a shitty scenario. It's like we thought we'd be at $1 million faster than we were,
Yeah.
But it wasn't as easy as we thought it would be. And this is where luck comes in. Like you have to figure this shit out. You know, you have to what we're doing. How can we make it better?
Yep.
What fresh new thing can we do to actually fix the problem?
Yep. And as PE has come into this space in this world, how do you attract and retain great talent? You know, I see everywhere. It's like, you know, people in the trades are, you know, it's limited right now. How do you attract and retain great technicians?
On record, I'll say like we're probably the best HVAC marketing company in the country. You know, in the wintertime, our guys are booked out for a month at a time on jobs. Like,
Yep.
and so in the hardest time of the year, so here's where we're messed up. Like right now, we're able to keep the best talent more busy in the wintertime, but we're not able to keep them as busy in the summertime. And I think that's solely just because like we don't have the existing customer base that these other bigger companies who have been around longer forever have.
Got it. And so what's next? Like, are you looking to acquire companies, or are you looking to do all of this sort of, you know, bottoms up and homegrown and launch new cities? Like, what's the kind of strategy?
That's the $1 million. I mean, that's the $1 million question that we're asking ourselves internally. Our goal right now is $100 million of revenue at, you know, around 10% profit in 2028, and to be at 150 at 20% profit in 2030. So that's our like initial goal right now, and we don't plan on acquiring companies to do that. But it does make you wonder, like when you go into a new market, is it smarter to acquire and, you know, just to put our balls online, pay $3 million for a company and get that returning base so we don't go through these issues again? Because like even if we were, I mean, you know, on Google PPC last month, we hit a 2x. So we spent $100,000, brought in $200,000.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
Insane. And it's not,
especially month one. If you think about, you know, like the, you know, payback period and sort of the LTV, and then you get happy customers, they're going to tell their neighbor, like I'm in a little complex now and there's air conditionings at all these houses and everyone kind of talks, right? So if you think about sort of what is the butterfly effect from just those customers, and you've already recouped 2x in month one, like that's.
Well, no, I mean 2x for me would be bad. I mean, like, so we spent 100,000, did 200,000 in revenue.
But in month one though, right?
Yeah, in month one. Yeah, and again, like this is, you know, like we're losing money, but we can't lose if we have to keep, you know, right now if we have 5 HVAC techs total. Yeah. Like if we want all those techs to have 4 calls a day, 4 times 5, 20 times 20, 400, let's say we need 500 calls a month, 500 times 800. Like we have to spend $400,000 in ads to keep them busy. That brings in 800,000. So 400 brings in 800. You know, now we have to lose essentially 20% of 800K. So we're losing $106,000 a month. So it's like, it's not a way to scale. Like it's not a way that we can sustain. Like we don't want to lose $2 million our first year in business. Yeah, true. In a new market. So yeah, it's like, you know, we could get funding. You know, it comes back to the PE question. Like how do you compete? How you compete is by not playing where they are. Like, so how we win is social media. Like we are amazing at social media ads. So we can acquire. So like think about this. If we're getting $60 tune-ups and we're selling 50% of those customers memberships in the off season, we're acquiring a membership, which should have, you know, we all know 20,000. We don't really know the LTV on that through social ads because there's no data on that. Yeah. But minimum $5,000, like we're acquiring customers for a customer for $120 when PE's paying $800 to get in a door. Like we're going to win long term. Yeah, but the patience sucks, you know. And are you guys doing any like more content stuff on social, or is it all paid? Like, are you on TikTok? Are you doing, you know, reels and stuff? I've seen some people doing really cool, interesting stuff, sort of behind the scenes of the technicians. Like, are you doing any of that stuff, or how do you view that? No, we should be, but it's just, you know, our overheads are already so high right now, and our focus, it goes back to luck. So like it goes down to like most companies were like, I need to be on this platform. Well, don't be on all those platforms until you master Facebook. Like Facebook's king on social. So it's like, okay, well now we have resources. What's the largest lever mover? So when we're doing luck, I'm thinking at landing pages. Okay, on landing pages, can I make a 5 to 10% incremental gain by making this change? What does that do for us? Well, on Google PPC, if we're at 10% conversion rate, 10% would be now 11% conversion rate. So our ad cost dropped 10%, 800 to 80 times 400 calls. Massive. Like I can make a $32,000 profit impact by doing that one part of the strategy correctly. So then you have this like massive list of shit to do. And the question always comes down to is like, where are we allocating our resources to? And currently like social and organic is just not where our time and efforts are going towards.
Got it.
But we should be doing it.
Yeah, I feel like everyone should be doing it, but I feel like we're starting to do it and it's like, I don't really know what I'm doing. Like I'm even doing this podcast. I'm not really sure what I'm doing, but I just know that I should be doing it.
Yeah, it's like, we know if we spend $10,000 on install ads, we can bring back $80,000 in revenue from those ads. If I spend $10,000 on a social media agency doing that, like, are they going to make $100,000 impact in our company this month?
Right. No.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, I know we're wrapping up here. What are the next cities that you're looking to launch?
Jacksonville officially. So we're in all of those right now. We're just in IAQ in Jacksonville, building up so like what we kind of learned is like, we have like one HVAC guy there and he's just like we're trying not to sell HVAC stuff there. We're just trying to sell memberships there. So that's our goal, is to figure out at what point in time, like how many memberships equal like 2 or 3 busy HVAC techs year round from returning customers. So that's what we're trying to figure out right now. So like Jacksonville is our next big one that we're launching into. And I think that we can scale to 100 million just in those, like in Tampa, Orlando, and Jacksonville. We might not go.
That's crazy. No way.
Yeah, I mean, so this is a guy that's Lickety Split, I think is her name. They were doing like 3 million a month in March. They're 2 years old and they're just in Jacksonville.
Damn. Okay. Yeah. Wow, that's exciting. Brandon, thank you so much for taking the time. I learned so much today about the KPIs and how you're thinking about growth and lock. I gotta write that down for our team. What is where can people find you? I know obviously I even found you to do this through X, so that's working for you guys. But where can people find you guys?
Buffalo Fink on X. I have a newsletter coming out in August. Wired2scale.com. So number 2. Wired2scale.com. We're going to break down in there like how I scale accounts, like more e-commerce side, issue 1, but issue 2 is 100% lock dedicated. So that's probably the most important thing that I ever could teach anybody is, how to look at lock and how to execute lock at a high level. So that would probably be like wired2scale.com.
Amazing. So many great nuggets today. Brandon Fink, one of the owners of Air Titans in Jacksonville, coming up, Tampa and Orlando. Thank you so much for being here on the Share Willow podcast.
Yep. All right, Ryan. Peace.